Hello. Welcome to another BD video. We're gonna go through how we can create a static page using the Bootstrap classes. That's why I have this little guy here open. I'm not gonna memorize everything, but I'm gonna show you how you can start working with the most important part of the Bootstrap system, the grid system here, which takes basically care of every need we have with mobile devices, tablets, desktops, and even very large devices. So first, let's go to content. We're gonna create a special page for us. It's gonna be called, guess what? Bootstrap. Yep. So we're gonna call it Bootstrap classes. Okay. And grid system. So let's do an H1 here and welcome to the grid system. There we go. I'm gonna save this. Let's view the page. There we go. Welcome to a grid system. Okay. We want to create, let's say we want to create this big guy here. We want to create a couple of them. Okay. Let me save this. Refresh a page. And okay, we have this right now. But what happens if we wanted this guy and we're gonna name each one? Welcome to a grid system level 1. Or just let's put grid system level 1, 2, okay, 3, and 4. Okay, so we got these 4 little guys here. If we refresh the page, okay, but what happens if we want this one here and we want this one next to level 1 and we want this one uh, below level 1 and this one next to level 3? That's where Bootstrap, the Bootstrap grid system help us. So we're gonna click on here on source code and see how the code is made here. We're gonna start adding div for each case. Okay, there's gonna be a parent div and then there's gonna be sub divs for each case. Let's do this quickly. Okay, there we go. We first are gonna tell the system, thanks to Bootstrap, that we want to make sure that from here to the end, that's the maximum size the whole grid system can use. So for the max size, if you start reading all this, you have a max columns of 12. Each column, depending on the device that it's viewing the page, has a different size. Okay, but for our specific case, we're going to use the column medium. Okay, so we're going to put that here, column medium, and we're going to say 12. There we go. And I'm going to save it down here. Okay, save that, refresh, and there we go. You saw a little bit of a change there. That's because Bootstrap just became enabled for this part of the HTML. So now we're gonna start playing with it. Okay, we're gonna add for this div. We're gonna tell it, okay, div. We're gonna tell you that you're gonna be 4. Remember, we have a 12 column size right now, so we can start playing with them. If we say this is gonna be 4, no, let's say it's gonna be 6. Okay, that means half of the whole thing. So we're gonna tell it it's 6, and then we're gonna tell this other guy that it's 6. See, let's see what happens here. Save it, refresh a page, and look, from the 12 column system that the grid uses, we told this part that it was using 6 of the 12, and this one was using 6 of the 12. Basically, we told the two H1s here that they will use half of the full width. Okay, so that's why they look like that. One's like around here, and then the other one's around here. If we told them, let's change that here. If we told them that they were gonna be 4, and this one was also gonna be 4, see what happens here. You're gonna see them now more closer to each other. Basically, here's 4, here's 4, and then there's an empty space here, and that's why the grid system level 3 jumped there. I'm gonna edit this, and then for the grid system, let's add it. Let's add this here. Let's add it there. So we got 4, 4, 6, 6. What do you think is gonna happen? So we have from the 12 column system, we have 4, then we have another 4. Okay, we got 8 there, and then I just added a 6. So if you start adding up the numbers, you'll see that it's 6 plus 4, it's 10, and then 4 more is way. We just passed the 12. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna see this 2 on the same line, and then this 2 on the next line. Okay, because the maximum amount of columns that can be in any time is always gonna be 12 for the Bootstrap side. There we go. So we're not seeing a 4 here, another 4 here, and then you see this big space here is because of the 6. So basically we have 12 columns here. You have to visualize them, and we're seeing 4 of the columns being used here, and then 4 more columns being used here, and then 4 empty columns here, and then it jumps down here because it's 6. So we're seeing 6 columns here, more or less around here, the first 6, and then the rest of the 6 are here. Okay, so we can even set it so all of them can fit on the same place. So let's put 3 here, and 3 here, and 3 here to give it 12 in total. Refresh, and you can see that they uh, fit on the same place. Obviously, there's too much text, and it's a H1, so it's pretty huge, but it's trying to fit the whole thing on the same line. Okay, now why am I teaching you guys this? Because this is super useful for cases like if you wanted to create widgets that one would appear on like a sidebar, okay, widget, and one would appear on the other side, and one in the middle, and maybe one on the top that takes the full width. And cases like this, you can play around with this grid system to your liking. Another curious way would be, for example, saying that the parent column would be 8, and then obviously we can have this many big guys here. I'm gonna lower the size a bit so it's smaller and easy to understand and actually to fit so it doesn't look horrible. So we got the parent is 8 columns. Okay, so the little guys here, you can see that they're 12. Okay, here's the thing: when the parent is less than 12, then the actual size for each of these guys is not a real medium 3 column. Okay, it would be divided by what the parent is. The children here are actually thinking that the parent is 12. So if it's 8, then they'll try to create an equation or division there that makes sure that this 8 can be divided into 12 columns. And based on those 12 columns, that's where you get these four ones. So you're gonna see that since I changed the parent to 8, I'm gonna save this, save here. You're gonna see that on the Bootstrap page, let's go to the Bootstrap page. Now they're using the 8 column, okay? But in for them, they are thinking that they're inside a 12 column parent, just because of the way the Bootstrap system works. So you can have 8 columns, and the children will interpret that 8 columns as a 12 column, and you can even keep on doing that. I mean, you can here, for example, I have a let's remove this guy so I can make a better visual example. And we're gonna create this guy here. We're gonna tell it that it's a 6 column, okay? But inside of it, I'm gonna create these two, or actually all three. I'm gonna put them there, and I'm gonna tell them that they're 4, 4, and 4. Okay, so look at the code. So we're saying that the parent of this little guys here, I'm gonna indent this so it's a bit better. Be hard to indent here. Okay, there we go. So here's the parent, which is a child of this 8 here. Okay, but the parent for these guys is 6. So they divide this in a way that makes sure that it's a 12 columns for the children. So if I run this 444, okay, save it. And this is what you're gonna get. Here you're seeing a 8 first level parent, okay? And he has a 4 here, and it's a 4 here. A 4 or a 3? I forgot, sorry. 3. Okay, so we got 3, 3, and then we got a 6. Okay, but that 6 is divided again as a 12 column, and you can see that the size, you can see here that the size of the column, it's about double of the size of this column. Okay, so basically the columns are the width of the columns. Every time that they're inside a parent and they're divided, they become smaller. So the width for a 12 columns inside a 6 column is obviously smaller than the actual 12 column layout. So you can have columns inside columns, inside columns, inside columns. Okay, but the width will get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. We're gonna change this one to 12, save it, refresh, and you're gonna notice that now here's the size of one single column with an actual parent of 12 columns. Okay, here's the size of another one which has a 3. Remember, we have a 3 here, so these are 3 columns. And then we have this guy here. This guy, we can see in the code, it's a 6 column. But since this is a 12 now, then this whole size here is actual the original true 6 size column based on the 12. Okay, you can see here. And then inside, the children are subdivided, and basically the 4, you can see that these are 4 column and these are 3 column. But notice that for the 3 they're this big, and for the 4 they're just this big. Okay, I can even make them, these guys, I can even make them smaller. Okay, and they'll still be bigger than this guy. Okay, here we go. We have a 2 here, we have 2 here, all 3 columns here, all squished together because this is a 2. Okay, so that's why it looks so there's not that much space for them to work on. So that's something you gotta also take into consideration. But we got 2 here, we got 2 here. Let's make this 4. Notice we're making the parent 4 and then the children all are all 4. Okay, saving, testing, and now you see we have a 4 here. This is a full 4. But then since this is a 4 and they subdivide that 4 to make it 12, then this is a result. This will be a 4 after that division. Okay? And I could keep on going and subdividing inside another pairing. Okay? Now, why did I do the 8 here? And let me remove all this code here. Okay, there we go. It's because you can actually add then another one. We can add, let's add this whole thing, and we're gonna put 4. And why 4? Because the end result of this one, which is 8 plus 4, is a 12 parent. Okay, we can actually put the whole thing inside another div with a whole medium of 12, or we can just leave it like that and you'll see the same result. So let's test that right now. Save it. Okay, and test it. There we go. So we have, again, let's go here. So we got 8, 2, 2, 4. That's why it looks like that. Okay, and then we have another column, which is 4, which is a parent, which would be this up to here. And then inside of it, we have 2, 2, 4. So we got 8 here, and we're missing 4 more, which is why we see this empty space here. But we can actually extend that. Since we only have 3, we can actually make them 4, all of them, to make it 12. Save it. And now you can see that this 4, this parent, which has 4, you can see it here. Now for each son or daughter, it's taking the same space, the same size, the same width, because it's subdividing in a way so that it creates another 12 columns. Okay, so right now we have, and let's make this also 4. So you can see the differences between having a call medium of 8 and a call medium of 4, and then all the children inside of them the same. So now we have everybody, the every of the children are all 4, and you can see the differences. You can see that the size here is huge compared to these little guys, but that's because their parents, the parents of these guys, it's a 8 column, okay, parent, and the parent of these guys is a 4, which is why you see a size like that. And I would create another example like a 6 and 6, but I'm guessing you already know what the answer of this will be. They'll be just the same, all of them. All 6 children will be the same size. Okay, so with the Bootstrap uh, theme and the CSS that you can check out on the Bootstrap site for this, you can see all the columns here and the examples. You can see here's the column MD medium 8 and medium 4. I just mentioned. We can create that again here. Here's the 8. Here's the 4. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna go to the Bootstrap. You can see that this one is double the size of this one. Okay, and when I refresh, you'll notice that too. This one is double the size of this whole thing here. So here you can see how big a call MD4 column medium 4 is. Here's column medium 6. You can see here how they're created and all that. And another important information that you should know, it's special classes that are used for, I'm going to remove all this for these special classes. There we go. Let's put this at 12, and we're going to start playing around with this, only with this two. Okay, so we got 4, 4. Save it there, refresh. It should be a bit bigger now. You can see that. But now we got 3 classes that are very important. We got offset classes, we got pull classes, and we got push classes. So here's the difference between all of them. We're gonna add a pull class to this. So we're gonna start typing pull, and let's say 2. Now, what do you think is gonna happen? I'm gonna refresh a page, and guess what? We've just pulled the item that we were working on by 2 columns. Okay, in this case we pulled it by 2 columns. We could pull it what by 1 column from the original position. Refresh that. Now it should be right there. Okay, I'm gonna even edit the code here, live editing, so you can see what happens. If I put 2 here, it goes way back. If I put 3, it goes more back. If I put 1, and if I remove the whole thing, it goes to the original position. Now that's pull. Now we're going to use push. Call md push, and we're going to put 1 first. Guess what? It goes to the other direction. We push it to the other side. If I use push 2, push it some more, push 3, push it some more, and you get the idea there. Okay, so now with pull and push, you can actually move this to one side or the other based on what you want. But what happens if, based on this, you want to move this one? Well, that's easy. You use offset. Let's put 1 there. There you go. Now we're gonna put 2. Now we're gonna put, and you get the idea again. Let's say, let's make a why we would use stuff like this. You want to center the information. See, now it's more center there. Now what happens if you want to center this here, but you want to get this one closer to this one? Okay, for that you will go to the other one here, and you can actually guess which one I'm gonna use. Pull. Yeah, let's pull it by 1. There we go. So now it's more center, it's nicer, it looks better. Okay, so that's how you would use offset, pull, push, okay, to manipulate the Bootstrap grid. And you would also use the Bootstrap grid to having a better responsive design on your site. Since I'm highlighting this here, you can see the size of the whole medium columns. Okay, there are a couple of other sizes. If we go here, let me scroll up here, you can see one extra small. Actually, you can see them here. Okay, you can see extra smalls are for very small devices, small for other type of devices, and they give you the full size you'll have. You can see here medium has 970. Okay, and that's more or less what we have here. And large, it's for very large sizes, and typically you can also here see the default size of the columns. Okay, so if for each column large, each column will be 97 pixels. For each medium one, each column will be 81 pixels or around that based on the calculations. And then small will be 62, and this one just simply adapts and makes everything because this there are different type of small devices, and there are multiple combinations here, so that's why it adapts to uh, the different devices that we can use for it. So with this said, hope this video can help you in creating your own pricing menus, your own uh, tables if you want to make them responsive, and have an excellent day playing around with the Bootstrap site.